So let's go back here and let's add the sort drop down. Okay, so let's copy and paste the sorts. Okay, and then we change this to sorts, and this would be changed to a drop down. So a drop down, let's replace it. Now what we want here is to be able to sort by want to be able to sort by the created time or created dates. So we want something like created at descending, created at ascending, and then the same thing, but this time around descending. Okay. So for this, there's some workaround around this and how you could do it. I'll just show you briefly, but I'll implement the right way this thing should be done. All right. So for example, if you want to do this sort, you could just come to the table here, and then here where you do the search, you could say sort by, and then you pick say created date, and then you could choose if it should be ascending or descending. All right. But we want to be able to give people the chance to dynamically change this thing. So you could choose to maybe start creating two inputs and start tying them to this, but I will not do that. I'll just get rid of these two. So let me get rid of these two. Okay, and this. All right, and let me get rid of this one too. So both of them will not be working. Okay, so let's close this off. And then what we need to do is go to database. Let's set some option sets, and then gradually you see how it works. So what we want here is sort options like that. Create it, and then inside of here we want created or some. We can just see something like dates created. Ascending, and then dates created descending. So at the top here, let's create two attributes. So one is the field. So what we'll be doing is that for each of those option sets we've created, we'll map them to a particular field, and this would be a field text. So create it. And then the second one would it be descending or ascending? So let's put descending, and then you put it to be a boolean, which is yes or no, something like that. So create. So now that we're done creating it like this, the next thing we want to set up is to modify the attribute. Okay, so to modify this attribute, we click on modify attribute. Then of course the display name would be descending. Sorry, date created ascending. So for descending, we'll say no, which means it should be ascending. And for the field that we are targeting, it is created at. So I hope I create. I think I spelled this correctly. So created something like that. So let's go back and check it out. So what we want is created date rather. Okay, created date. So let's go back. Let's go back here and fix this. So created date, that's what we are looking for. Okay. Now save this. And then we also modify the second attribute. Same thing, created date. That's what we're looking for. And then here in the descending, we will put yes. We want it to be descending. That's okay. And create it. So now that we're done with this, we can now come back to our sort here and then change the options, make it dynamic, and then pick this from the sort options. Then here in the choices, we want all sort options like that. And for here, we want current options, something like that. Current options display. For the default value, we can use the descending, something like this. and that is it. This input should not be empty. So now we've done this, but it doesn't mean it takes effect because we've not actually attached it um to our data that we're fetching. But let's see what we've done so far. See how it's looking. So once you click on this, you see either descending or ascending. So for now, it doesn't really do much. Okay. So what we're supposed to do is to sort this based on the dates they were created. All right. So let's come here. All right. So here in the table, what we want to do here in the table is to go back and revisit our our fetching transaction here, and we want to see how we'll be able to now infuse these sort options that we have put in here. So instead of selecting any of these options, what we want to do is go down and say change which field. So this now gives us this dynamic field name. So what we now want is to go to sort. So this it should be drop down rather, drop down. This should be dynamic. So dynamic drop down. We have multiple drop down here. Let me make sure I get it properly. So here's the drop down. Okay, so this is supposed to be renamed to drop down sort, something like that. And then here the placeholder should be select option. All right, now we are back here. What we want to pick is the field sort. Okay, drop down sorts. I think that's what I just named it. So the value, so the drop down sort value, and what we want to pick in the value is the field. That's the field name. Okay, then coming to the descending, we want the same thing. So drop down sorts, the value, once this time around the descending. So basically what's going on here is that we have passed in two options there in our option sets in the database here. This is where we're passing everything. So what's asking us for here now is what do we want to pass in for the sorts. So for the sorts, we want to pass in this drop down sort values field. Now if you come here and you remember when we modified this, inside the field, we passed in the field we are expecting to be mapped to, okay? So that is the field that we are currently being mapped to here. And therefore the descending, this is the second value here. That is this descending. And if you also remember, we choose whether this thing should be descending or not. So when we come back here, I think we are good to go. So we could do a refresh. And so by default, this is in descending order, which means the last one in it will be the first one at the top. And then if we click on this other one, that is the ascending one, you see how it readjusts just as it should be. So we could do this descending, or it could be ascending. So this is beautiful, awesome. And I think I should place all these things in one line. So let me come back here and maybe reduce maybe the width of some of these things. So let's keep the width to as minimal as possible. So let's keep all of them as minimal as possible. So let's go to the layout and check for the width, 250. Let's make that 200. So that's better. Now this looks really cool. Everything we want, we have it now. And it's working perfectly. Awesome. You see? So let's sign out. Let's log out. And log in the other user Sam at gmail.com, and then pass in the password like that. Let's log that user in, and as soon as we log the user in, we are able to see the data we've added before. We see the balance and everything as it should be. We can sort the way we want, filter the way we want, and then we can choose to sort if we have all the data. So it's currently in ascending order. You could change it to descending order, and it swaps so nicely. So